Hey, welcome to Romance Happy Hour. I'm Dylan Crush, and I'm here with my co-hostess, Dawn Luedecke. So there's
Yeah,
three
right.
of us tonight, so we're like tall and narrow, and normally we're squattier when we show up on the screen. There's not a good way to say that, is there? So we are here tonight, super excited to have Victoria J. Hyla joining us, and we're a threesome this evening. We've only got
Mhm.
three of us instead of four authors we normally have on the show. So you're going to get to hear a little bit from me and from Victoria. So, Dawn, I know we both kind of rolled in here at the last minute because of kids' sports have already started. So
Yes.
Yeah.
what have you been up to this week?
Um, Work. Getting my kids to school. Actually, I just finally been able to sit down and start writing again and plotting. So, working with my agent on some other different projects and just yeah. And then I'm in a hero anthology, or not anthology, but it's a shared world.
Okay.
So yeah. What about you? I
When
know
does that
that
come out?
was that me?
When
Did I
does that come
glitch?
out?
Oh, 2023.
Oh, okay, not for a
Um,
while.
yeah, no, it's not for a while, so yeah. But you have some news.
Well, I had a release this week. I had a release on
Yep.
Tuesday. Kiss Me Now Cowboy came out. So there he is. This is Justin, and I'll read a little bit from this tonight. So yeah, big release. And then, oh my gosh, I dropped my oldest off at college yesterday. Um, and it's only an hour and a half away, and I get to go back tomorrow because they got to move in for early move in because of a thing that they're in. And so tomorrow's the big day for like all the family where it's like the family picnic and stuff. So I know. So I'm already going back tomorrow. I mean, it's been, like not even 24 hours since I
Yeah.
since I left, but still it's like
That's a
changes,
big step,
big
you know?
changes. I know.
Yeah.
I know. So yeah, it's been a big week around here. And then I just came in from my kiddo's football game. He scored like 3 touchdowns. I was really sad I
Nice.
had to leave. So
Aw.
said it's amazing what happens when he actually memorizes the playbook and knows what's happening on the field because last year he was just, I mean, he'd kill me if he saw me talking about it, but he's pretty much clueless. And so this year he actually is engaged. So
Yeah.
that was kind of fun. So plenty more where that is coming from. We've got a whole season of that to look forward to.
Mhm.
So how about you, Victoria? Thanks for joining us. We're
Yeah.
excited to have you with us. You want to tell us a little bit about who you are and what you write and
Yeah. My name is
anything
Victoria
else?
J. Hyla. I write women's fiction. So, in the romance genre, but like huge books. And then, yeah, no, I've got twins who just turned 7 and they started second grade. And so that's a little cray cray. But, and then, yeah, I live a little bit outside of the Chicago area. So that's kind of where I'm hailing from. And yeah, now I've got a trilogy published. I am like thigh deep into my new book that's coming out, which is a new series. It's part of a new series, and that's very exciting. I'm hoping to get that out this year. It's just a lot, so.
Yeah.
But I just
Mhm.
got over a major like plot hump, so I think it's going to be kind of rolling together quite quickly soon. So I'm very
Excellent.
excited about
Awesome.
that. Yeah.
Twins, that must
Yeah.
be, incredibly
Insane.
busy. I'm surprised with 7-year-old twins you actually are able to write at all, but
I make it happen just
yeah.
because if I don't, it's not happy me. So
Yes.
yeah, and I also do children's books too. So I'm kind of all over the place with writing. So yeah.
Nice.
Fun. And what are you reading from tonight?
Yeah, I'm going to be reading from my third book. Of course, I can't
I
see
know,
myself with the
it's all
narrow thing.
backwards.
I know it's called Awaken Elysian Fields, and it takes place mostly in Paris, and then
Ooh,
other parts of France. And yeah, so it's the third book in the trilogy, but it's a book that can be read by itself. If anyone, the first one or the third one can be kind of read by themselves. So yeah, I'm going to read part of that. Thanks. So
great. So
yeah.
have you been to Paris and traveled around in France?
I
Is
have.
that
Yeah, I've been to Paris quite a few times and I love it so much. And then as the characters developed in my first 2 books, there was an opportunity to get one of the characters to Paris. And so I'm like, I should do that. And absolutely. I was sad that I couldn't go back, when I was writing it for like on-site research, but I'd been there enough times. And then I did a lot of research, on the computer just to fill in some gaps in my memory. But yeah, no, it was like right during COVID. I'm like, man, like that's not happening. So I didn't actually get to go back, but I have been there quite a few times. And so I've had readers say it's like a tour of Paris as well as a story.
Oh,
so
nice.
It's kind of cool. Yeah.
I need to pick that up then, because ever since I've been married now, I don't even want to say how long, because then everybody will guess how old I am. But my husband, I have told him from the get-go, it's like Paris is one of the places I've always wanted to go. And I mean, he even worked for the airline for years when we first got married. And so we had free, we could fly for free. And we never made it to Paris until we flew over Paris one time and saw the Eiffel Tower outside the window of the plane. And, he was like, there it is. There's Paris. So
it's one of my favorite cities on the planet. And I could go there and be happy like all the time. I know it better than I know it actually Chicago. So I could get less lost in Paris. So
have you ever been to Paris, Dawn?
No, I've been to, I haven't been to anywhere on the outside of the world, honestly. I've been.
Wow, that might be a record. That's like one place we found some place Dawn has never been.
Wow.
Well, you can find lots of places outside the U.S.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's fair enough.
I did a lot of traveling in Europe when I was younger. And then just, in my later part of my life, it's all been in the U.S. So for a while I had more countries than states, but now it's totally flipped.
Yeah. Very exciting. Yeah. I can't wait to hear about it.
And then my new series takes place in Mexico, because I studied abroad in Cuernavaca, and so that whole series is set there. So I like to set my stories elsewhere.
Mm-hmm.
So it's fun.
No, that's super cool. Yeah, none of mine are set anywhere abroad. So I think I need to up my research game. How about you, Dawn?
Yeah, no. Nope. No, none of things abroad. Sorry, I was like multitasking in my brain here. Because Deanna, I'm gonna actually pop this question up from Deanna early. Have any of you been to Australia?
Sadly, no. I would love to. That is so on my bucket list.
I've been to New Zealand, but not Australia.
Close.
So, but yes, also on my bucket list. I would love to go.
I have friends from Australia and New Zealand, but I have not been there myself.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Yeah.
There's still plenty of time. Plenty of time. And now that we can travel again, hopefully we'll get to do that soon. I know
you were just about to like really start jet setting everywhere right when COVID hit. You were in London. Yeah, you're like, I'm going to London.
Oh. Well, I was in London, when
COVID hit.
The borders closed. We were on our way back, and because I had gone over. There's for writers, there was a self-publishing show that was over in London, and so I went over for that. And then I know quite a few authors just got back from Australia, though, because they had the RWA in Australia conference that just took place, and I know several authors from the US went over for that. So yeah, it's nice to have things open again, so we have the option.
Definitely.
Yeah, for real.
Yeah.
So
do we have any questions to kick us off, Dawn, or should we get started with reading?
I mean, we can do questions. We got Karen. She's back and she's rolling, but we could start. Yeah, I mean, let's just start with this big one of Karen's, and I can't even put it up because I think it's going to cover your whole face. So we'll just
one at a time, Karen. One at a time.
All right. So first one from Karen: if you were a bird, what kind of bird would you be?
Wow. Well, I wrote a children's book about birds, so maybe I'll be that bird. I don't know. He's a sparrow. I just think sparrows are cute. So
yeah, I don't know. I'd probably be a mockingbird, so I could follow Karen around and mock her.
Yeah, I think I'd be a hummingbird.
Oh, that'd be cute.
No, or a cardinal. I don't know.
You'd be tired if you were a hummingbird because their little wings go so fast.
They're so
Oh,
cute.
they are.
I have a feeder, and we have one that sits in the tree, and he's the boss of that feeder, and he runs everybody
hummingbird?
off. Yeah, he runs everybody, all the other birds off, and then occasionally he'll bring a girlfriend, and they'll eat
Oh,
together.
Sexy time,
okay.
apparently.
Yeah.
You've got a if the branch is rocking, don't come knocking at Dawn's house, right?
Yeah, I'm definitely gonna. I'm gonna have to make
Right. So
that
I
and
want
put
to
it on the
know
tree.
what that question has to do with books, Karen.
Oh, sorry. I should have prefaced this with she is writing a book about speed dating, and so she wants to know some of our questions for. I guess she's going to be putting some of these questions in her speed dating book.
If we're
and
thinking of it that way, I would probably have to go with a raven for myself.
oh,
Ooh.
yeah.
Oh, maybe I'd be a vulture.
Oh gosh.
I'm
Nice.
just kidding. I'm just kidding. I want to know what kind of bird Karen would be.
Yeah. Tell us, Karen. Oh my gosh. So sorry. Phone is
Is
ringing.
someone trying to FaceTime you during the show? We put him up on the screen, Dawn.
Oh, probably. It's my dad, though. I'm okay.
All
No,
right.
I have a niece on the way today. She's yeah, my sister, well, future sister-in-law is currently in labor, so that's
Okay,
probably what
gotcha.
that's
I
about.
wasn't sure when you said a niece on the way. I didn't know if you meant she was coming to visit you soon, or
No,
if you were awaiting
nope,
news of a birth, or
of a
okay.
birth. Yeah, a new
Thanks for
baby.
clarifying.
Uh, all right, so another question. If you had to be stuck on an island with one person, who would that be?
Ooh.
My husband.
Alive or dead, real or fictional?
Let's go for it. Anyone.
Hmm.
The sky's
I'd
the
probably
limit.
be stuck with maybe like Albert Einstein, because he would be smart enough to figure out how to get us off the island. I think.
You
Maybe.
think?
I would actually have to go with my husband
I would too.
because I never see him. So, yeah, he's where he works so many hours, and so I feel like I never see him. Like we are like passing in the night, and so I
Yeah.
would just like to have time with him. And he's very resourceful, so he can build anything and figure anything out. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay,
Oh, I
and if
see
you
that.
were
Karen says she would take me and some of the Mendota Cafe coffee. That's a comment back to the little coffee shop when she was in town. And I said, all right, let's meet for coffee. And I picked it because it was by our hotel. And I didn't realize it was in the basement of a building. And we were the only ones there. And it was kind of creepy. So
yeah.
sorry, Karen. I mean, it
if
wasn't
you
creepy. It was good coffee. It was just we were the only ones there. And it was in the basement of a building. And so it was just odd. But all right.
and if you were stranded in an island, what are the 3 things you would want to have with you?
Wow. I say a knife because that's pretty useful.
Yeah.
A
Rope.
maybe. I don't know. Some
A
kind of
boat?
vessel that I could put
Yeah, a
water
boat.
in. Oh, can you have animals? Because that'd be neat. I'll have a goat. Goats
You
are
got
fun.
milk.
They jump
Yeah.
on things.
I think I don't know. I think it depends on if I'm allowed to have a boat. I would have a boat so I could, again, get off the island. And then maybe a compass, because I'm not very good with directions. And so I would have no idea which way to go. I know I even was trying to find the North Star the other night because I was thinking, if I ever got lost and I had to get home, you know how they used to navigate by the North Star? It's like
Yeah.
they all looked bright to me. I don't know
So
which
much
one was
light pollution. It makes it really hard unless you're in
right.
something really rural. So
Yes, I'm gonna go with that. Oh, Karen says she'd have a helicopter. I feel like that's cheating.
See, we're talking stranded on an island here, Karen, and this is your
Yeah.
own question.
Right.
has to
So
be stuff you can put on
stranded
your
on an
person.
island, that means no boats and
Oh,
helicopters
no boat.
allowed.
Okay. Yeah, then I guess I would have a Kindle, a solar powered Kindle, so I'd have books.
There you go.
And then maybe an axe or machete or something, so I could, like they do in Survivor, chop down the palm fronds and make shelter and
Yeah.
and whack open the coconuts so I could have something to eat and drink. And yeah, maybe a notebook with an endless supply of paper because I'm sure I would get a ton of writing done,
Hmm.
even though no one would ever get to read it if I was stranded on an
You
island.
can machete the bark off of palm trees and make parchment.
And
There you
write with
go.
my own blood. Is that what you're? I don't write paranormal.
Find bugs and turn that into ink. I don't know.
Linda would have a
Yeah.
knife, matches, and water because Linda is extremely practical and
Yeah.
I think very down to earth. So
And I was really honestly thinking the same thing. At least I didn't think about the water, but if it's I was thinking water, like pills, like water cleaner, like a filter. But yeah.
have you ever heard of people? I don't know. I think I read somewhere one time you can drink your own pee if you had to.
Yeah,
you
I'm
Would you
not
ever
really
do that,
fond of
Dawn?
that.
Would you
I
ever
would
be that desperate that you would resort to that? I don't know. How about you, Victoria? I feel like this
that would
conversation
have to
is
be extremely desperate, but yeah, it is
really
possible.
bad
But
food.
eventually, the salts get so concentrated it would kill you.
Mhm.
So
Yeah.
it wouldn't
Yeah.
last that long.
Yeah,
Okay.
we watched that on the Bear Grylls show, and my
Yeah,
children were very disgusted when he drank his own pee.
I don't know.
yeah.
Brenna's
I
saying you have
mean,
to boil it. Do you have to boil it? Did Bear boil his pee?
no, he just like peed on a thing and then wrapped it in his head on his head to keep cool, and then he would like drink it. I don't
Ew,
know.
so gross.
Mm, okay.
He was in the desert.
Yeah.
Well, let's move on.
I think
Victoria,
so. It's getting kind of weird.
Victoria, would you please do us the honor of taking us to Paris?
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, and the scene I'm going to be reading is it's not the first time the two main characters meet, but it's the first time they have a real interaction. And he has just stolen a flask from a store. She chased him down and got it back to the store, and the storekeeper didn't really care. So so it's after that there's a more intense interaction between them. So
All right, we are
sorry.
going to leave you up here by yourself and we'll be back when you're done.
All right. I'm used to children's books, but it doesn't quite lend itself to showing you the text. But all right. So when Elise stepped into the cool evening air, she felt just how hot her cheeks had become. Absently, she raised her hand to her face as she turned down the street in a daze. She hadn't gone far before she felt a hand on her shoulder. Without thinking, she reached up, grabbed the hand and wrist, and twisted around to face the intruder. She skillfully controlled his elbow and forced him to bend at the waist with his face down and away from her. She firmly pressed her other hand into his shoulder with her weight behind it as he tried to stand up. He wasn't going anywhere for a while. Thank you, Sensei, for that little useful move, she thought to herself as the all too familiar dark-haired man grunted in surprise and perhaps a little pain as he strained to right himself. What do you want? She spit out at him in English, oddly aware at the irony of her asking that question at this point. For you to let me go so we can talk, he answered easily, his voice deep and liquid with his French accent. Why the hell should I? She spouted defiantly, pressing into his shoulder and barring his arm even harder, for which she received another grunt. Because I cannot talk to you like this, Jolie, came the answer in an unexpectedly silky tone clearly meant to diffuse her. It made her waver, but she didn't crack. Why would I want to talk to you at this point, monsieur? She asked, squeezing his hand harder for emphasis. He grunted again incoherently, but managed to collect himself a little. How will you know unless I explain? Begrudgingly, she conceded that he did have a point, and something mildly conciliatory in his tone made her ease up just a bit. To her surprise, he didn't struggle or try to dart away now that he could. Intrigued, Elise took a chance and stepped back to fully release him. Once Elise let go completely, he sprang up with a bounce and turned to face her, taking a step back and rubbing his wrist as he sized her up, now with a tinge of admiration. Where did you learn that? He began conversationally. Elise narrowed her eyes. What, are we friends now? She wondered incredulously, but answered levelly. 6 years of martial arts training. C'est vrai? Wow, quelle intéressante! He chimed with a winning smile full of charm, admiring her openly as his eyes traveled the length of her body. Elise watched him watch her, but neither of them was saying anything. Handsome and charming though he was, and as curious as she was about why he had been following her all week, his theft had left a sour taste in her mouth. Unsure whether she even wanted to talk to him now, she turned away and headed in the opposite direction. Immediately he was on her heels, and halfway down the block he managed to get in front of her, blocking her path. "Where are you going, Jolie?" "Home," she said, glaring into his clearly amused and beautifully liquid dark brown eyes, so dark they were almost black. She faltered a little in her resolve to leave, but regrouped quickly and moved to step aside. Quickly sidestepping to block her way, he continued, "No, no, no, not when we are finally meeting for real. Come and have a drink with me." He threw out a dazzlingly bright smile to sweeten the offer. She raised a surprised and annoyed eyebrow before shifting again and walking past him. "S'il vous plaît, Elise." That stopped her, and she turned toward him, blinking dumbly for several seconds before her brow furrowed in confusion and a little apprehension. "How?" The dark-haired man smiled even brighter. It dawned on her almost immediately, and she felt stupid at not having realized it. The name tag on her suitcase at the airport, he had read out her name. Of course he could know it, but to remember it still. Had he been thinking about her all this time then? Elise bristled again with the fact that he had indeed been following her for days, and he'd just stolen something and embraced her all too familiarly. She brushed at that thought. She had not been completely innocent. She'd responded to his advances. And now he wanted to have a drink with her? Did he actually think she'd say yes? Did she want to say no? At her hesitation, he smiled again and took a step forward, reaching for her hand. "You want to. Why do you fight this?" Knowing he was right and not entirely happy about it, Elise pulled her hand away from his and pushed past him, needing to gather her thoughts, and finding it incredibly challenging to do so when he was smiling at her like that. He was incredibly handsome and clearly interested, which was flattering and excited her in a way she couldn't push down. But he had stolen something, and she knew it was probably best just to walk away. Even in her confusion, she couldn't help the tug of a small smile at her lips because of his persistence. "I'm expected at home," she said quietly, but heard the lack of conviction in her own voice and scowled inwardly. Undeterred, he caught up with her and matched her quick strides, suggesting, "Then let me walk you home. Paris might be Paris, but it is still a city. You never know what hides behind the dark corners." "Clearly, I can take care of myself." At that, he laughed out loud. "Of that I am most certain," he commented, rubbing his wrist again in illustration as they walked. Elise couldn't help but smirk in response as she kept her pace, quickening her step as she headed down the grand staircase of Montmartre back toward the city. He quickly caught up with her on the steps. You have far to go," he said in a tone that was not a question. She flinched but staunched her surprise. He had been following her, so obviously he knew where she lived. "Maybe so," she answered succinctly, trying to hold on to her annoyance at his continued pursuit, but not entirely succeeding. Then even more reason, Jolie, that you should not be walking alone at night. All kinds of bad people around." "So I've noticed," she replied, half under her breath, but loud enough for him to hear as she continued down the very long stone staircase. He made a sound as if offended, which reflexively made her look over at him, only to find a flirty smile and clearly no real offense taken. "I am not the one you should worry about," he added with a twinkling eye. She couldn't resist smiling back this time at his handsome face. "Oh, no?" Her defenses wavered slightly, but the fact that he had stolen something still really bothered her. She wanted to know why. Elise stopped abruptly, and he continued a few steps down before realizing she had stopped. Turning, he came back up to stand on the step below her. This put them nearly at eye level with each other. He had a good 6 inches on her normally, she realized. He gazed at her with those dark, penetrating eyes, and she hesitated, swallowing to regain some focus. Elise began in French, "Répondez à une question." Smiling warmly and opening because he'd smiling warmly and openly because he'd won some ground in their little battle of wills, he offered, in English still, "I will tell you whatever you want to know, Jolie." With so much more bravado than she actually felt, Elise reverted back to English and asked bluntly, Why did you steal that flask? His smile sobered, but it did not disappear completely as his eyes narrowed slightly. It was less an expression of annoyance or anger than it was him trying to work something out regarding his view of her. After a few long moments, he responded simply, "This is important to you." Elise wasn't sure what she had been expecting, but it hadn't been that. It wasn't an answer, she surmised, but it was an opening. "It is," she said simply, holding his gaze. The confidence in his eyes wavered, and he paused as if unsure what to say or perhaps trying to figure out what answer she wanted to hear. She hoped it was the former. The last thing she wanted to hear was a line or a lie. Elise was nearly at the end of her patience, waiting for a response when he dropped her gaze and said simply, "Because I could." "Oh," she uttered idiotically as she mulled over what that meant. She studied the zipper on his jacket for lack of a better place to focus. It felt like an honest answer, that stealing from the store had been a lark, nothing more. He hadn't stolen out of need or to sell it or anything else, but just because he could? Reflecting back on her childhood, Elise knew she would never have stolen just because she could, or just for fun. It was not fun. It had never been fun. When Elise looked back up at him, his eyes were firmly glued on hers as she searched for her reaction. The scrutiny made her nervous, and she felt herself flush. How could she explain her thoughts in reaction to his admission? It was far too personal to share with a stranger. She didn't even know his name. Looking away again, she shifted her weight back on her heels and managed to stammer out a whispered, "I have to go." Elise stepped around him and continued down the stairs. A whirlwind of emotions raged within her, and she wasn't sure how she felt about what he had said. For her, the act of stealing had been something forced, something terrifying, something that held the hope, but not the guarantee, that she would escape a beating. It was something to do casually for fun. It wasn't something to do casually for fun. "Jolie, do not go," he called after her, and this time reached out and grabbed her hand. "Please." Elise let him stop her and turn her around to face him, bracing for his scorn or derision or laughter. Now on the same step, she grudgingly looked up at him, unable to prevent the moisture in her eyes, and she hated that she might start to cry in front of this man she barely knew about something he could not have known would do this to her. But he wasn't laughing, and his eyes held no scorn, only concern and a little confusion. When Elise didn't pull her hand from his, he took her other hand and brought both of them together between them. His touch was very gentle, almost intimate, but decidedly chaste. "It was a silly prank, and one I now regret. I cannot say I understand, but I can say I'm sorry for what it is that makes you sad like this." His tone felt completely genuine, and she wasn't sure how to process that. Looking down at their joined hands, she noticed his were a little darker, a little rougher, a little larger, and wholly masculine next to her smaller, delicate fingers. He began to gently rub his thumbs over her knuckles, an intimate gesture that sent a flutter through her body. Her breath caught as her heart began to race, and her face flushed. Elise abruptly pulled her hands away and tucked them securely into the crooks of her elbows. Undeterred by her retreat, he took a small step closer. For whatever reason, she did not reestablish the safe distance as he leaned in, nearly touching her, but not quite. "Très jolie, Elise," he whispered intimately as his eyes studied her face. Elise could feel his warm breath on her cheek, so near her lips. Her mind was urging her to go, to run, but her body froze in adamant betrayal, determined to soak him in. A smile began at the corner of his mouth when she didn't move away. A beautiful name for a beautiful girl. She might have stood there indefinitely, basking in the exhilaration of his closeness, staring into his eyes and listening to his liquid voice. But as he reached up a hand to touch her face, she snapped out of the spell and stepped back ever so slightly. His hand fell back to his side with genuine disappointment. Elise stood staring at him for a few seconds longer, her breath quick as though she'd been running. When he didn't make another move toward her, she managed in French, just above a whisper, "I'm sorry, I really need to go." Not waiting for a response, Elise turned and quickly descended the stairs, wiping away the wetness from her eyes. I'll stop there. So hopefully that was entertaining.
Yeah, sorry, it takes us a few seconds to get unmuted and back up here on the screen. So holy cow, what an accent that you did.
Trying.
No, that was awesome. I can't do any kind of accent, so I really enjoyed hearing
I can do
that.
French.
Very well. I mean, I haven't been to Paris, but it sounded French to me.
Cool.
So,
Yeah. Same here.
nicely done.
Yeah. Well, hopefully that intrigues people to read a little bit more. So
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, no, that was very intriguing.
Cool.
So I didn't see any questions come through though. I think people were just spellbound.
Yeah.
That's cool. Happy to answer questions if people have them. But
Yeah, Karen just said always love it when authors read from their stories. So
Yeah, she does.
yeah, if
We
you
do have a
Oh, I was going to say, if you do have questions, just go ahead and pop them in the comments. But
yeah.
I'm sorry, Dawn. Go ahead.
We do have a couple from earlier still. So I saved some. How do you like to relax after a day of work?
what's relaxing?
I know, right?
Honestly, my work is so sporadic. I'm self-employed. I'm a freelance editor and writer in addition to authoring and things. So I don't really know how to relax. Like sitting on a beach makes me want to punch somebody in the face. So I don't know. Maybe a beer or a glass of wine.
I was going to say wine makes me relax.
Yeah.
I Netflix and chill.
Yeah.
No, not so much the chilling, but the Netflix. Yeah.
Yeah. I have to Netflix to shut my brain off at night.
Yeah.
I
My
do
husband
that.
doesn't understand either.
Mhm.
He also doesn't like necessarily the crackers that I eat. And Netflix and chill.
Are you eating crackers in bed? Because that's.
I am.
Oh,
He gets
Dawn.
pissed. No, not always. Sometimes it's other things.
Yeah, I do like to read too. I just saw Karen said in the comments she
Yeah.
likes to read, but not as much as she did years ago. Although I know Karen listens to a lot of audiobooks. But it seems like I was just thinking about this the other day. I tend to read a lot more stuff that's not published yet, because I'm reading for friends and other authors and ARCs and things like that. And so I feel like I'm not caught up on, all the books that people are talking about. The current books people are talking about, and I miss that. So I keep saying, like, once the kids get back in school, because my kids are not back in school yet, we still have, and they don't go back until after Labor Day. Except
It might have been back for a week and a half. It's been nice.
Yeah, it's so weird. I know. I grew up in Texas, and we always went back to school early there too. But so yeah, once we finally, I'm hoping we get back into some sort of routine, because this summer has just knocked me on my rear end.
Mine too.
Yep. So I hope to get back into reading more.
Yeah.
And that is how I relax, or watching a show. And I've been watching the morning show with my hubby. It's on Apple TV, and it is Reese Witherspoon and Jennifer Aniston. And
I heard that's good.
It's a drama, so both of them I've seen in many, many, many comedies and stuff. So it was kind of a little odd at first to see, and Steve Carell also, but it's really good.
Wow. So those three with drama, that's crazy.
Yep, that's really good. So yeah, I've been enjoying that. How do you relax, Dawn?
I
Just
Netflix and chill with my crackers in bed.
Yep. With your
and
crackers.
wine. And
Yes.
wine.
Yeah.
What inspires you?
What inspires you?
Had so many things. And it really it depends on what I'm writing. But like for my novels, it's little life experiences, and same with short stories. Short stories, I'll take a little snippet of something, and then it'll just blossom into stuff. And I'm in a lot of short stories and anthologies and things. But no, like for my new novel that I'm working, it's literally I studied abroad in Mexico, and I really wanted to move there and renovate a hotel. And so this is the what if I had done that scenario.
Fun.
So for that one, that is definitely what inspires me.
What about you, Dylan?
I don't know. I mean, everything. I think as authors, you can get inspiration from anything. I mean, I've been like I've written whole entire books off of like one line from a song, or you overhear. And of course, I think during when everybody was staying home during the pandemic, I mean, I was still writing, but I felt like my writing was getting kind of stale, and I realized it's because I get so many ideas just from talking to other people or, kind of being out and like even standing in line at Costco, it's like I'll hear a mom arguing with her kid behind me, and it's like, oh, that'll remind me of something or make me think of something and, kind of inspire a scene. So I think really anywhere.
Yeah.
It comes from anywhere. And I know people always ask that. And it's like, honestly, really, it can be anything. It can be anywhere.
A writer's mind is weird like that. We just cling on to things. So.
Right. Well, and when my husband and I were dating, we used to play this game because we would always meet up because we were dating long distance. And so when we'd go out or whatever, we'd play this game, like, what do you think their story is? And you look at strangers who are, having dinner together and it's like, ooh, they're on a first date, and I mean, they've been married for 20 years, but it's, just kind of like make up these little stories about, people that you see and all that. And so, yeah, I missed that when we couldn't get out. So
I'm just glad. I'm sorry. I have this thought that just popped in my mind because what that Steve Carell comedy show, what is it, Date Night? Weren't they playing that game at the beginning of their date?
I think so. Was it Date Night?
Yeah, Date Night. Because then it's like a big.
Yeah.
So I'm just saying, you're lucky because that you didn't end up like being chased by murderers and stuff. Like they did playing that on their.
Very true.
On their date. So
yes. Well, we don't go out on dates very often to avoid that. That's the reason that we normally order in and watch a movie when we have our date night because we don't want that to happen.
Yeah. Good idea. Good plans. All right, let's do one more and then hear from you, or do you want to hear
No, we can do one more.
Okay. What's the craziest thing that you've eaten? This is a Karen.
Oh, that's totally a Karen
question. Yeah.
Craziest thing. I eat a lot of crazy things, so it's hard. I don't know. What's the craziest thing?
Well, I guarantee your answer will be better than mine.
Mine too, because I have no idea.
I have a cat. I have not eaten the cat though. That's okay. I'm being assailed by
kids. Incite a riot on Romance Happy Hour.
No kidding. I would never do that. I've got cats and kids here right now. Okay, take her, please. I mean, I've gone crazy. I mean, when I was in New York this summer, we found this really interesting meat place. It was called Dark Side of the Moo. And you can eat really random meats. And we ordered, what did we order? Kangaroo.
Oh,
I know. I felt bad about that one a little bit. And then what was the other one? I mean, they had wild boar, but we didn't get that. There were two. What was the other one? But yeah, kangaroo might be the weird one. It was cool, but I can't remember the other one. But yeah, no, but I've eaten like camel and random stuff and
Bear, snake, and deer.
Okay, yeah, and we had some snake, I guess. Yeah, but 7-year-olds. But yeah, no. So I mean, I'll try anything once. So, but yeah, I mean, my husband really wants to eat one of those live octopuses, but that's a little weird for me. I don't know if I can do that.
I don't want to eat anything that I can feel like fighting back on its way down.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's why I'm like, no.
Yeah. No, I see. There's a comment. Karen said maybe alligator. I think I've had alligator.
I've had alligator a lot. Yeah. It's like fishy chicken.
Yep. I've had rattlesnake.
Mm-hmm.
Trying to think of what else. I mean, snails.
Yeah.
Yeah, nothing too terribly exotic for me.
Yeah, I used to love escargot, but then there's this really cute children's book called Escargot that I read with my daughter, and it's a snail who's asking you to like kiss it because it's a little French snail and he's adorable. So I don't know if I could eat escargot anymore because he's really cute.
Yeah. I won't dare to eat.
Yeah, I think I only had that once, and it was, I mean, I don't know, it was just the butter and the garlic was really what I was after. I just I wasn't terribly impressed with the snail. I don't know, oysters. I mean, that's common.
Yeah, I mean it's common, but literally that's the only weird thing that I've eaten because I guess I'm a prude when it comes to food.
I've had, I don't know.
Oh, I thought of the other one that I had. It was yak. That's what it was.
Oh.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay,
I think
interesting.
that's kind of beefy though.
It was like a lean beef. Yeah.
Yeah. Like
Mhm.
buffalo. Buffalo is pretty lean.
I had when I was just in Montana this summer, I had a bison burger and I had an elk meatloaf.
Yeah.
Elk is the best. Elk is my favorite red meat on the
Good.
planet. So
Yeah.
good.
Really good.
We got freezer full, not to brag or anything.
So jealous.
Obviously, none of us are vegetarians on this show, so
No.
I apologize for
Because
anyone
none of us are thinking like pickled.
who may be listening later.
What was it? Karen sent us.
Cactus. I've had cactus.
Oh, I love cactus. It's one of my favorite
Yeah.
things my mother-in-law makes. Yeah.
My daughter eats seaweed.
Mm-hmm.
Had
Yeah, and
seaweed.
sushi.
That.
Yeah.
Yep,
Yeah.
with sushi.
Yeah.
No, she just eats the
Just eats it by itself.
With the seaweed.
Yeah,
Yeah,
you can get them in like the
Yeah.
I don't know.
the
She
crisp.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I said I'll eat anything once, and then we'll see. So,
All right. Well,
Interesting
Dylan.
show tonight we're talking about all kinds of
Yeah.
stuff.
Yeah.
All right. So
Let's hear
I'm
from
gonna
you.
read now, right?
Yep.
All right. I gotta put on the glasses though, because I'm not gonna start from the beginning. Normally I start from the beginning. Do you want me to put you guys down so you don't have to sit here and watch me while I read? Okay. There we go. I normally start with chapter 1, but I'm going to dive in a little bit more on this one. I'm reading from Kiss Me Now, Cowboy. It came out on Tuesday. This is the first book in a brand new Cowboys in Paradise series. And Justin and Emmeline are friends to lovers. He is an injured bull rider, and she is a kindergarten teacher, and he's been in love with her for years. And so I am picking up there's 4 of them, best friends. Justin, Knox, and Decker are the boys, and then they've been friends since they were little. And then Emmeline moved to their town when she was in, I think, 2nd grade, and so they've all been hanging out for years and years. So I am picking up after Justin and Emmeline and Decker went to Knox is a musician, and they went to his concert. He's a country western superstar. And they went to his concert. So I am going to pick up there. So Emmeline linked her arm with Justin's as they headed away from the giant arena. He'd seemed off all night, more quiet than usual, more reserved, more serious. Cat got your tongue? She nudged him with her hip, trying to get him to open up a bit. He could be a hard one to read sometimes. If left to his own thinking, he could think himself down into some pretty dark places where he shouldn't go. Nah. He dismissed her concern with a quick shake of his head. Just thinking about Knox. Seeing him play tonight wasn't exactly what I expected. Do you really think he's selling out? Only Knox can answer that, I suppose. She squeezed his arm, wondering if now might be the right time to broach the subject she'd been wanting to talk to him about for the past couple of weeks. She'd meant to bring it up before, but there never seemed to be a right time. Out of the 3 men, Justin was the one she talked to most often, especially now that he was back home. When he'd been riding bulls, he spent 95% of his time on the road, either competing in events or traveling back and forth between. But even with him being home for the past couple of months, they still hadn't seen each other as much as she would have liked. Sometimes she felt like he was avoiding her. He knew how much she hated rodeo events, knew how much that lifestyle had taken from her family. He also knew how she felt about him following in his dad's and brother's footsteps. Though she'd tried to understand, she couldn't. Justin wasn't cut from the same cloth as his older brother Jake. Though they both followed in their dad's footsteps when it came to bull riding, Justin didn't subscribe to his dad's all-or-nothing way of thinking like his brother did. He'd been avoiding talk about his return to the circuit. If she wanted to get a straight answer, now might be the best time to press for one. Got big plans this summer? She slowed her stride on purpose, not wanting to run out a sidewalk before she had the chance to steer the conversation somewhere serious. I've got PT on my shoulder to look forward to, and hopefully some time at the lake with Decker and Knox. He hip-checked her with a quick bump. I'm hoping you'll have time to squeeze me in sometime between when Georgie's baby arrives and Keisha walks down the aisle. You know I'm never too busy for you. They'd been friends since the day they met and had always been there for each other. That wouldn't stop now, not even if he was being bullheaded about riding bulls. He looked ahead as he answered, Good to know some things never change. Sometimes some things need to change. I see. He clucked his tongue. Is that what we're going to do tonight, Em? She stopped and let her arm fall away from his. What do you want me to say? You can't seriously be thinking about getting back up on a bull this summer. You might be fooling Knox and Decker, but you're nowhere near healed up enough to even consider it. And you know all about shoulder injuries now? His eyes narrowed just a little, the teasing tone long gone from his voice. I know you're still in pain. I know your dad's been pushing you. I know you've got some sort of death wish. She crossed her arms over her chest, challenging him to deny it. I don't expect you to understand. He adjusted his cowboy hat, pulling it lower over his eyes. Her heart squeezed. I do understand, at least part of it. Your dad's been pushing since you started mutton busting, but just because he won a title, it doesn't mean you have to kill yourself to try to get one too. Yeah, he got a title, then Jake got a title. If I don't keep the tradition going, I may as well change my last name. He glanced down at her, his gaze connecting with hers barely long enough for her to see the hint of humiliation in his eyes. I can't let them down. There was nothing she could say or do to change his mind. She'd learned that about Justin over the years. Once he set his sights on something, he wouldn't let up until he'd reached his goal. It might be an admirable quality if he directed his focus on something a little less likely to cause a permanent injury. I wish he'd reconsider. She linked her arm with his again, her way of backing off a bit. I wish he'd stop bugging me about it. Touché, how about a truce? She whirled around to face him. I'll stop bringing it up if you promise me you won't commit to an event until you're fully healed. Justin clenched his jaw and shifted his gaze to a spot over her shoulder. Fully healed is a pretty subjective term. She poked him in the stomach. Fine, when a doctor clears you, is that better? Sure, I won't get back on a bull until I'm cleared by a doctor. The hard lines around his mouth eased. Is that what you want to hear? Shake on it? She thrust her hand out. I'll do you one better than that. Let's hug on it. He opened his arms, his mouth curving up into that playful grin of his that made her toes curl. But this was Justin, her best friend. Hugs from best friends shouldn't induce toe curling. She flattened her toes inside her favorite cowboy boots and snuggled against his chest. His arms embraced her, making everything right in her world, at least for the moment. Justin had that effect on her. No matter what was going wrong in her life, no matter how hard of a day she'd had, the moment he wrapped her in his arms, it all faded away. Should we catch up to the others? Justin pulled back. Wouldn't want them to think we got lost on the walk over. Sure. Reluctantly, she let him go. He might think he'd won the battle, but she hadn't given up on trying to get him to see things her way. After all, that's what friends were for, to help each other navigate the twisty turns life threw in their path. What kind of friend would she be if she gave up that easily? So chapter 4, Justin. Sandwiched into a corner booth with Em on one side and Knox on the other, Justin breathed in the mouth-watering scent of sizzling fajitas and let being in a place he liked with the people he loved soothe his troubled soul. Terlinga's had been one of their favorite places to visit back in high school. They'd spend the day out on Lake Ray Hubbard on one of Decker's dad's boats, then grab their fill of authentic Mexican food before heading home. Being back here with 3 of his favorite people in the whole wide world made the problems waiting for him at home fade into the background. He took a long draw on his tea and focused his attention on the conversation going on between Knox and Decker. Decker dipped a still warm tortilla chip into the bowl of salsa in the center of the table. I'm just saying, if you don't want to play the kind of crap they're telling you to, then why don't you just walk away? Just walk away? Knox spread his arms out as wide as he could in the cramped space of the booth. You think it's that easy? Decker finished chewing and shrugged. Personally, I'd ride that money train until the tracks came to an end, but if you're determined to sabotage your own success... Some of us don't have daddy's cash to back us up if we change our mind about things. Knox's jaw clenched, along with his grip on the bottle of beer. Come on, y'all. Emmeline's gaze bounced back and forth between the 2 men. She always played the peacekeeper in their testosterone-fueled trio. How long has it been since the 4 of us got together? Let's not waste time with a pissing contest. You know you'd be the one to lose in a pissing contest, right? Justin couldn't help but poke fun. She used to get so jealous that the 3 of them could take care of business just about anywhere when she'd oftentimes have to head off alone to find the ladies' room. How about we change the subject from bodily fluids to figuring out what kind of appetizers we want to order before the server comes back, Em suggested. Justin stifled a laugh. Though Em was the youngest of the 4 of them, she'd always been the most mature. Queso flamiado for sure, the big bowl. Decker slung an arm over Miranda's shoulder and ran a finger over the laminated menu. And in order of the guacamole prepared tableside, what else do y'all want? Just keep the beer coming. Knox tipped his bottle toward Justin. Your turn to get dogpiled. What's going on with your run for the championship title? Great. He'd gone from tempering the fire between Knox and Decker to ending up in the hot seat. Before he had a chance to downplay his injuries, Em spoke up. You know Justin, he's pretending like he didn't almost die and counting the days until he can climb right back up on a bull again. The look on her face dared him to disagree. It was like she'd somehow taken every look of disappointment he'd ever received in his life and swirled them all together into one big frown. That's not exactly true. His fingers fiddled with the straw wrapper. Oh, straw wrapper, sorry. Em was only trying to protect him, but she had no idea how important it was for him to get back to what he needed to do. Let's count your most recent injuries. She held up her pointer finger. 1, a severe concussion. What's that come to? 3 in the past 2 years? Justin pressed his thigh against hers, a silent request to change the subject, but she was on a roll. Her middle finger went up. He also had surgery on his shoulder to repair his rotator cuff. Knox winced. Damn, I've heard a torn rotator cuff hurts like hell. Yeah, well, we know Justin never does anything half-assed. What did the doctor say? She bit her lip and dramatically shifted her gaze to the ceiling. Something like you shredded it to the point he was amazed your arm was still attached? Can y'all excuse me for a minute? He didn't want to listen to him go through the rundown of all the ways he'd abused his body over the years. Knox slid out of the booth so Justin could get up. Out of all his friends, Knox understood the sacrifices a man had to make to follow his dreams. He'd turned his back on everything he loved for a shot at making a living with his music. Sure as hell it paid off for him. He'd sold out the entire arena tonight and had back-to-back shows lined up across the country for the next several months. She just worries about you. Knox waited for Justin to pass before he slid back into the booth. Yeah, I know. He couldn't help that a bull put an end to Emmeline's dad's career or that her father struggled with the after effects of a permanent injury. She had a right to her feelings. Truth was, she had reason to be concerned. Justin had lost track of how many bull riders had come up through the ranks over the years, only to fade away when a bad landing put an end to their career. He couldn't let that happen to him, though. His dad expected him to continue the tradition of keeping the Forza name in the headlines. Bull riding was all Justin knew. He'd barely graduated from high school and never gone to college. If he quit bull riding tomorrow, his dad would probably disown him or maybe cut him out of the family business. Without a title to his name, he wouldn't have much value being associated with the bull riding school his dad and Jake had started. If that happened, there'd be no way he could afford to give Em the life she deserved. Hell, even if he did win the title, the prize money wouldn't go very far if he wanted to secure a future for the two of them. Not when he had his eye on a little tract of land not far from the ranch where he was raised. Em deserved a hell of a lot more than he would ever be able to give her, but he'd do his best. He'd either get back to the competition this summer or have to wait until January to start over. He wasn't sure his heart or his battered body could wait that long to finally tell her how he felt. That meant whether he was 100% ready or not, he had to find a way to get back into the circuit. His body could heal if he got injured again, but his heart, there was no way his heart would ever recover if he didn't get the chance to come clean with Emmeline. And I will stop there. Get you back up here and unmute you. Oh, I think you yeah, there we go.
Cool. I love that you write about the rodeo because I'm in my first book. Look at rodeo riders. So, I love the rodeo. It's good. It's good fun to research. So.
Yes, and I did lots of research. So I actually got to talk to a guy who works for the PBR, and he spent a lot of time on the phone with me talking about just everything that bull riders go through, and then there's some great documentaries. There's one, Fearless, I think, on Netflix. Mm-hmm. And it mainly focuses on some Brazilian bull riders, but it was, and so it goes back and shows them, riding in Brazil and then the PBR and everything. But yeah, it was super fascinating. I know Dawn was a bull rider, so, or you dated bull riders and you were a rodeo queen or a rodeo princess at one point in time. Oh, you're muted.
Yeah.
We can't hear you, but I did not mute you, so I don't know. We have lost your sound.
It's this.
Yes. That's
No, I was saying I wasn't. I did rodeo, but I wasn't a rodeo queen.
I know. I'm just teasing you.
I dated a bull rider, but I was gonna say I actually had an exchange student in high school from Brazil.
Ooh.
Who was a bull rider in Brazil.
Okay.
And so he was just he hung out with the cowboys because that's where he fit in, even though he didn't look like he did because he was, foreign and everybody loved him. But yeah, he was just like, he would come and you could just tell like he was itching to be on a bull, but he couldn't in the exchange program. But
oh, they wouldn't let him?
No.
I guess that would be some massive waiver you'd have to sign if you were gonna,
Yeah. So yeah.
Well, no, it was interesting researching. I mean, I've been to many, many rodeos, but I've never participated in a rodeo.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
but it was fun to research.
Yeah. Even funner to do, though. You should participate sometime.
I think I'm past my potential rodeo years, Dawn.
Yeah. Are you? I don't
think
I,
know.
I loved your reference to mutton busting. That is the cutest thing to watch ever. So,
Yeah.
Yeah, when you get the little kids on the back of a sheep and they're trying to.
just,
Yes.
Well, we actually don't have any more questions.
What?
I know. I do have one though. From me, the restaurant in the menu in there seemed pretty in depth in your book. Is it like based off an actual restaurant you've been to, or
Yes.
did you Google on? Did you research on there? Because I mean, I was like, I got hungry.
I know. As I was reading it, I was kind of starting to drool because I didn't get dinner in between when I got back from my son's
Same
football
here.
game and hopped on here. So there was a place. So I mean, you know, as authors, there's always a little bit of us in every single book, and so there were times a friend of mine had his older brother. They had a sailboat in their family, and so we used to go out on the lake and go on the sailboat. And sometimes we'd actually sail, and other times we just kind of floated around and you know, had fun. But we would oftentimes stop by a place in downtown Fort Worth called Benito's and get the queso flamiato, which is basically cheese, and then they pour alcohol on top of it, and they light the whole thing on fire, and it's a dip.
Saganaki, but Mexican.
Yes.
Wow.
Yes. I don't even know what kind of alcohol they put on it. I mean, I don't know. Maybe it was
Probably
tequila.
tequila.
I mean, I have to look it up. But you know, I mean, it would burn off, and then you would just be left with this cheese dip that was delicious. And you know, I mean, there were like maybe a handful of us that would most of the time go, and we would normally be able, between, you know, like 6 or 7 of us, be able to scrape enough money together to order like one order of queso flamiato that we would all have to share. And then, you know, you try to eat as little cheese as possible on it so that you could just keep getting the chips refilled over and over.
Yeah.
So,
I do that too. I put in like real restaurants and real hotels that are just like places that I've either been or have researched the crap out of. And like there's a hotel in the book that they go to the Loire Valley, and it's a real hotel. Like, I want to go there someday and just present them with the book and say, here, like, I featured your hotel in a really nice way.
That's
so
awesome.
Terlinga's is not a real restaurant that I know of. I mean, I made that up, but yeah, it was Benito's, and we used to go to Eagle Mountain Lake, not Lake Ray Hubbard, because Lake Ray Hubbard is in Dallas and Eagle Mountain Lake is in Fort Worth.
Okay.
But similarities.
Yeah.
And no comment on the rest of that, because they did get busted while they were swimming one time, and I have no comment on any of that.
Awesome. Well, we are actually on time. I mean, yeah.
All right. So I have a
Yeah.
question, Victoria. What is coming up for you next? You're working on a new series, you said?
Yes. My cat is trying to take over my computer. So
we don't have a good history with cats. We had Tanta Candle
like
was completely
touching the
knocked
screen
out of the
and
broadcast by her cat one time.
trying to keep him on the side. Yeah, so the new series that I'm writing is called the Hotel Brisas series. And it's kind of the name of the hotel. We were going to name this hotel property if we had actually done it in real life. And the first book is called Rooted Hearts. And it basically follows a character named Miranda, who is very close to me. Like, her backstory is basically my backstory up to a certain point in my life. And so, yeah, it's her renovating this hotel. She killed her life and like renovates this hotel, but she's also working to renovate herself because she feels broken. So it's kind of that thing. So yeah, I'm working on that. I also have 2 new children's books coming out in the near future. And I mean, I work and try to help other people publish as well. So I'm always doing something with words and books. But yeah, I mean, all my stuff, you can look me up on my website, which is victoriajhyla.com. And then, yeah, so I'm all over Facebook and all the other things too.
And you are giving away Reader's Choice of one of your ebooks from
Yeah,
your
any
trilogy.
ebook, Reader's Choice. Yeah.
Great. And that giveaway is up on our Facebook page, the Romance Happy Hour Facebook page. It'll be up through Sunday. So if you haven't had a chance to check that out, hop on over. And then I am giving away a signed paperback of Kiss Me Now, Cowboy. If you are US, if you're international, it'll be a paperback with a book plate that I will send you. So
Okay.
yeah, both of those are up on the Facebook page. So check it out. And then we will be back. Oh my gosh, Dawn, in September.
Yeah.
I know. I can't believe our next show is in September.
The week before I go see my son graduate from Marine Corps boot camp.
Gosh, it feels like he just left.
I know. Not for me.
I know.
I'm sure not for him.
I'm sure not for him. No kidding. Yeah, no kidding.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, I know. Gosh, time seems to fly so fast nowadays. But
yeah.
All right. So yeah, we'll be back in September with we have 2 shows planned for September and hope you'll join us then. And other than that, thanks for being with us, Victoria. We really appreciate it. It was fun hearing your French accent. I'm not even going to try to fake it because I will botch it completely.
Yeah. It was amazing.
Yeah, if you joined us late and missed out on that, definitely go back and listen.
Yeah, there's a lot of French in the book, but I promise you, if it's something you need to understand, it's contextually explained. So.
Sounds good. All right. Well, everybody have a great weekend and we'll see you next time.
All right.
Bye.
Bye.